main context of this particular complaint has to do with a family auction, or an auction of family items for which Mr. Mixon was hired. Specifically, Ms. Zabrowski contended that she was not allowed to bid, even though she had contacted Mr. Mixon for the purpose of bidding on items in the family estate. And that also there was some contention that Mr. Mixon made misstatements to the board investigator with regard to the events by getting a question as to whether Mr. Mixon told the board that, or he told Ms. Zabrowski either, that he was not allowed, he was told by Ms. Dews to not accept any other bids, and that it was Ms. Dews' request that he not accept Ms. Zabrowski's bid. And that is an issue to be brought, and that's why we have both parties here today. The allegations against Mr. Mixon are basically efforts to deceive or defraud the public, incompetency or gross negligence with regard to the estate sale, and also a proceeding by the board with regard to whether he made false statements to the board investigator at the time of the investigation.
Mr. Mixon, would you like to make an opening statement as to what your position is?
Well, yes, ma'am. We're getting into this matter. I apologize deeply if the investigator thought that I misled him or told something that was untrue, and I hope this clears that up today. But I would not want anyone to think that I would jeopardize myself in that kind of way. Also, this is very embarrassing for me. This is completely took me out of left field. I'm hoping we clear this up today, and I want you to know moving forward, I mentioned this gentleman in the break room that I have an attorney now on retainer that's going to look through all my contracts moving forward on estate sales. And I did not purposely mean to mislead or make any windows of a situation if it wasn't factual that I could live up to. I'm hoping we can clear this today. Thank
The
you.
summary of her complaint was that she asked if she could bid anonymously. She was told that she could bid anonymously, and for whatever her personal reasons were, that's what she wanted to do. Because she also had somebody named Craig Bagwell call Mr. Mixon to confirm that the bids would be anonymous. And according to her statement, Bagwell was also told they could bid anonymously. Really, what this comes down to is that, according to Ms. Zabrowski, Mr. Mixon's ability to bid for her was called off either by him at his decision or by her sister, Ms. Dews, at her decision. In any case, because it was done at such a late date, she was not able to drive to the auction and bid herself. To explain the process, but apparently we showed Ms. Candace Dews the telephone number, and Ms. Dews recognized that as her sister, Ms. Zabrowski. Mr. Mixon was also told that the siblings had held a lottery in order that each one of them would be able to get one item from the state, and the rest would be auctioned off. It was at that point that Mrs. Zabrowski apparently became upset, and Ms. Dews told Mr. Mixon that she suspected she would cause trouble at the auction. She instructed Mr. Mixon not to take her calls or bids. Mr. Mixon also told me that 4 of the 5 siblings were present at the auction, and some of them did bid on items, but he did not take Ms. Zabrowski's bid. But I think I was able to get in touch with her, and she told me that she did not instruct Mr. Mixon not to take Ms. Zabrowski's bids. But what she did tell him was not to mess with her phone calls, as she would just start trouble. Ms. Dews, so we can see what we have here is we have, it's a family issue. Whether or not that's a violation of the law, auction law, I really don't know.
David, I talked to Mr. Mixon. Did you ask him if it was a public auction and there was someone who requested to bid by telephone, why he in fact did not allow them to bid by telephone?
You talked specifically to Mr. Rowski?
Yes.
Well, he said that his dues cast the night.
Okay, but it was advertised as a public auction.
That's correct.
And Ms. Dabrowski is a member of the public, is she not?
As far as I know.
Okay, I'm somewhat at a loss here. Then did you ask him why he allowed the person that actually sent the auction to him to dominate the auction when in fact he was holding a public auction?
I think the reasons kind of spoke for itself, and that she was running the auction, and that's what it did.
Well, he's the auctioneer, he's running the auction. Isn't that what your training tells you?
Well, that's correct.
Because it's a public auction, right?
That's correct.
And did he have any explanation for that? Because I would really like to know that, the judge.
His only explanation to me was that that's what he was told to do.
So he was actually letting the dues control the public auction based upon your investigation.
Based upon his statement, yes. Based upon his due statement, which is where we have I guess a different, either a difference in perception or a difference in fact. You know, his dues stated that she did not make that statement.
But you have attestation from Ms. Zabrowski that she was going to bid by telephone, she understood that the bids were going to be taken, and she was not allowed to actually place a bid by the auction.
That's what her statement was.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
know.
Mr. you're the executive of the succession that we're talking
Yes,
about.
ma'am, that's correct.
And you're the one who actually retained Mr. Mixon and
Yes,
Nicholson
ma'am.
auction. Did you instruct Mr. Mixon not to accept bids from Ms. Brasky?
No, ma'am. He received repetitive calls from my sister and her family. And they were, in my opinion, ridiculous. You know, it was, I'm a friend of the family, and I'd like to place an anonymous bid, but I don't want to tell you who I am, I don't want to tell you anything about it. And, you know, he asked me, said, they're trying to make rates, what should I do? I said, I would ignore those calls because you cannot, in my opinion, accept a bid from someone who will not tell you who they are, where they are, how they're paid, where they're coming from. And I would not respond to that type of call. Kevin did tell them, I was close enough to Kevin that I could hear part of the phone calls at times. And he did tell them that they could bid online. Here's how you do it. Here's the deadline for when I can receive a bid. He said to them that once the bid started, once the auction started, he would not be able to take bids on the phone. He would not be able to take bids after that because he would be performing an auction and not able to stop and take calls or, you know, go back and check his emails again or whatever. And
Because Ms. Zabrowski is your sister. is that
Miss
correct?
Zabrowski is my sister. And no, I did not instruct him not to accept bids from my sister. I told him that I would ignore a person calling with an anonymous anything where they couldn't tell you who they were, where they were, how they would pay. They never, in my hearing, they never actually placed the phone bid. I didn't hear a single call where they actually placed a bid. It was more of what I would call an annoyance because they would hang up and call right back. And hang up and call right back. And
Is there any animosity between you and your sister?
there has been a great deal of animosity between my sister and other members of my family since my mom died. And I felt like that day, what was happening to Kevin in the way of him calling and calling and calling and calling, but not wanting to give him any information, I felt like that was more to annoy him than to doing actual I would like to say, in Kevin's defense, I was very pleased with the way that he and his company handled our auction. I was very embarrassed of the behavior of my family.
And when you told him not to listen, did he tell you anything?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
You
what
told
you're
him to ignore the calls and ignore your sister, ignore who was calling in. Did he tell you anything or make a comment?
asking. No. I don't think that you're understanding what I'm saying. There were not calls that were placing bids. There were calls that were just to be annoying calls.
Well, you see, it seems to me, okay, it just seems to me that you were either listening into the entire conversation or he was telling you what was being said on the other line. It seems to me, as a layperson, it seems to me that he's the professional in this relationship. He's the auctioneer, he's calling a public auction, so he should abide by the rules of a public auction. And you're not an auctioneer.
No, I'm not. But is he required to take that kind of call?
He is required to, by law, to hold a public auction that is advertised as a public auction.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the law of Louisiana.
Yes, ma'am, and I felt like we did that.
Okay, well, I don't know, you're not an auctioneer, so you can't say
No.
we did it. You were not conducting the auction. He was the boss of that auction, right?
Yes, ma'am, he's the auctioneer.
Thank you, no further questions.
Okay.
Kevin Mixon, and I live in Spring Hill, Louisiana. I don't know what all y'all want me to tell y'all. It wasn't just her family members calling me. I had calls from a lady in Oklahoma City who was a member of Miss Candace's dog collecting club. Getting phone calls from Oklahoma City. I was getting calls from Texarkana. I was getting calls from Magnolia because a lot of my followers, I guess you could say, to my monthly auction live in Arkansas. I'm only 7 miles from the Arkansas line. Miss Candace will tell you, she don't have any phone coverage at this house. There's no phone coverage out there. So you have to go out in the yard and raise one arm and open the car door to get phone coverage. We were talking earlier about phone bids. I don't know where this came from. There was never phone bids. Miss Candace didn't have a phone line to her house. That's why I couldn't use my credit card machine. There was never the use of phone bids. What the people wanted to do is they wanted to submit an absentee bid by phone prior to the auction. I could not accept absentee bids because I would be in violation of Law 3130 because I did not post anywhere on the public auction notification, either Auction Zip, radio, TV, American Classified, local newspapers, anything that I would accept absentee bids. So I couldn't take it. That was never part of the discussion. I couldn't claim she's called me and she's talked to me. If you look at this, you'll see where there's 3 different people supposed to have been representing this one person. Stella Dan, Chris Bagwell, or Chad Bagwell, the Marcy Zambrowski, and a Dana Reed. Did I receive any of her bids? They did come to my spam folder. I did receive her bids right before the auction. There's probably 15 or 20 of them listed. But I did not know that was the sister. I didn't know it was Margie Zambrowski because it came in under a different name. And I saw this list, and when the people called me, 18 minutes, y'all, this must be Tennessee time. Because my auction started at 9 o'clock in the morning. And she's saying she contacted me at 9:42, and I told her I had to go, the auction was fixed to start. So I'm assuming it's 9:42 a.m. is Tennessee time. So let's say it started 18 minutes before my sale started, is when she got in touch with me, or this individual did, and said, did you get my list? Y'all, I got all kinds of lists. I got people calling me that want to know what time the auction was. Me and Miss Dew and my staff, we put out signs through Mansfield, Louisiana. We must have put 30 signs out. We still had people pulling on the side of the road calling, wanting to know, how do you get to the house? How do you get to the house? Pretty hectic day. Of course, most of these bigger auctions are. I feel like in my heart of hearts, I have not done one thing wrong. Now, I might be ignorant to the facts of some things, and I may be naive to other things, but I did not purposely to hurt. I didn't go out to hurt anyone. I thought I was doing what I could for the Dew family, the Civil Hayes estate. I felt like I did my very, very best to make this a profitable sale for them and everybody involved.
This email, you say that basically Ms. Zabrowski did call and email me several times about absentee bidding. She first used an assumed name, then went as far as to ask me not to use her real name. Her family was notified. I was told by the new family not to entertain her phone calls or her bids.
That's correct.
And that's your statement.
That's my statement.
Have you changed your mind in any way? Is this still your position?
Well, after what we viewed today, it's kind of hard for me not to take her bids if I don't take her phone calls. And the bids did come in, but they came through spam at 4:45 in the morning Tennessee time, which would have been 4:45 Louisiana time. And I probably would have got my bids up about 8:30 that morning, en route, 7:30 that morning, route into the auction. But yes, ma'am.
So you did take absentee bids?
No, ma'am, I did not. I couldn't take absentee bids. I got her list, but I did not take any absentee bids. I got her list.
Okay, why didn't you tell us about the absentee bids when you first answered the complaint?
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think, to be honest with you, I didn't think we'd go to this point. I just thought I'd tell you why I did what I did.
With regard to the sale, you only took bids from those people.
Who were at the sale. That is correct, and that's the list of all the buyers there. There was no absentee bids given. There was no phone bids given. The people that bid at that auction were the buyers at that auction.
Now, these dudes made a reference to online bidding.
I don't know where that came from. We never had online bids. I don't even know how to do an online bid. Like I said when I first sat down, that was a terminology that's been misconstrued because it was an online bid. If I may address Ms. Candace, or I'll look at you while I say it, maybe she was saying an online bid by someone telephone and in a bid, which I would take as an absentee bid. I mean, that terminology. There was no online auction.
Would you take any bids prior to the auction? You know, basically saying, I want you to, basically, this is my bid, I want you to put this in.
No, that's an absentee bid, no ma'am.
You want to take left bids, but not start your reserve there.
I'm sorry?
Did you start your bidding at the amount she gave on the items listed?
No, I didn't even entertain that item listed.
Okay. All right. So, your position is that the only people who bid were the people who were present,
That is correct.
and that you didn't allow anyone else to bid on any of the items in the sale except those who were physically present.
Now, that is true. But I think I know where you're going with this. Miss Dew bid for a niece or nephew or a family member, but she was actively at the auction.
So you would have accepted someone?
I would have accepted that, yes. Yes.
Any way that you made these accepting bids from the seller?
Yes, I did.
That was the beginning?
And I also, yes, right before the auction started, I also said at the beginning of the auction that there were several family members there, and they would also be bidding on the item. Because I didn't want some of my regulars or some other people thinking we were running business. Necessarily, she was the only one that called and wanted to put in an absentee bid.
And the only reason you didn't take them, you're telling us, you just say, is because you were told not to.
I was told not to have any contact with the sister. So there's no way I can take her bid if I can't, if I'm not to have contact. That make any sense?
Questions? Max?
I have questions. You want to-
No, I'm finished.
All right, is there a motion with respect to the charges?
I have a motion also. Let me do my motion first, because I'm the dissenter. I would like to make a motion that Mr. Mixon be fined $500 and also receive a reprimand.
Is there a second to the motion?
I have a motion.
Thank you very much.
The motion would be a 6-month formal warning, basically because for not stating in your terms and conditions that there was no absentee votes. And at the end of 6 months, well, we don't want to see you back here. We want to make sure that you're doing good auctions and the best that you can. And the motion is for a 6-month formal warning. And no fine.
All right, and that'll go out of this folder at the end of 6 months.
That's go out of this folder at the end of 6 months.
You have a second?
So moved.
Is that a probation or just a?
No.
Just a warning.
Okay.
Second, you want to poll?
Yes, Mr. Richter?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs?
No.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Ms. Steinkamp?
Yes.
5 1.
Motion
Motion to adjourn.
approved. Have a motion to adjourn, second.
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, we're adjourned.